Good morning, everyone. The Subcommittee on Energy and Water Development and related agencies will come to order. Welcome to the Subcommittee markup of the fiscal year 2025 Energy and Water Development and related agencies appropriations bill. Welcome Chairman Cole, Ranking Member DeLauro, and Ranking Member Capter. Good morning again. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Subcommittee markup of fiscal 2025 Energy and Water Development Related Agencies Appropriations Bill. The fiscal 2025 Energy and Water Bill reflects our continuing commitment to our national security, energy security, and economic competitiveness. The recommendation totals $59.2 billion, an increase of nearly $1 billion above fiscal year 2024, and a reduction of $139 million below the President's budget request. The bill delivers strong support for our national defense and provides $25.5 billion, an increase of $1.3 billion above fiscal 24 for the National Nuclear Security Administration. The bill prioritizes nuclear weapons activities, fully funding all major stockpile modernization activities, and providing additional funds for plutonium pit production and the nuclear sea-launched cruise missile. We continue our commitment to remediation of contaminated sites by funding the Department of Energy's Corps of Engineers cleanup activities at a total of $8.5 billion. The bill also advances our nation's energy security, including $1.8 billion for the base nuclear energy programs. We also provide additional funding for nuclear demonstration projects specifically. We are at a pivotal moment in the development of nuclear energy technologies in the United States, the success of which are critical to regaining international dominance in the nuclear market and for our own domestic energy security. We cannot cede leadership in nuclear energy to China and Russia. We must successfully demonstrate advanced reactors for commercial deployment here in the United States. To meet this national security imperative and ensure the domestic nuclear industry continues to move forward, the bill provides funding sufficient to complete the demonstration projects that Congress has already initiated. The Fossil Energy and Carbon Management Accounts includes one of the largest investments focused on mining production technologies for critical minerals extraction in decades. These investments are essential to secure our domestic supply chain and reduce reliance on foreign sources. The Energy and Water Bill also strengthens our economic competitiveness. The bill includes $9.96 billion for the Army Corps of Engineers, including full funding of the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund activities and the highest priority ongoing Inland Waterways Trust Fund construction projects to ensure the safe flow of commerce. Funding for the Bureau of Reclamation totals $1.93 billion, prioritized projects that increase water supply and support drought resilience. Within the funding for the Corps and Reclamation, the bill also includes a total of $899 million for community project funding. The bill continues to support for scientific research, providing $8.4 billion for the Department of Energy's Office of Science, an increase of $150 million above fiscal 2024 to ensure America remains at the forefront of scientific discovery and innovation. Our national security and economic vitality are built upon our nation's world-leading scientific and technological leadership. The bill includes provisions aimed at countering Biden administration actions that would stifle private sector and exacerbate inflation. The bill prohibits modifications to the Corps of Engineers' nationwide permits critical for oil and gas development and stops the Department of Energy's mandate to phase out fossil fuels at federal buildings. The bill also rejects the Biden administration's harmful pause on LNG exports by removing the Department of Energy's role in the LNG export application review process, a position that has bipartisan support. The bill also includes a number of provisions to protect American resources and intellectual property from falling into the hands of foreign adversaries. I would like to thank all of the members in the subcommittee for their valuable input in helping to shape this bill. The subcommittee received more than 5,100 requests from members for programmatic funding levels and bill report language, and we have attempted to address as many of these requests as possible for both Republicans and Democrats, with the overall priorities for the bill. Last but not certainly least, I would like to thank my friend, the ranking member, Marcy Kaptur, for her partnership. Chairman Cole, my dear friend, and Ranking Member DeLauro for their leadership throughout this process, and staff on both sides of the aisle for their hard work on this bill. I now recognize Ranking Member Kaptur for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We gathered today to mark up the fiscal year 2025 Energy and Water Development Bill. And Mr. Chairman, I think you know how much I appreciate working with you and our colleagues to develop and pass bipartisan bills has long been our practice, including last year. I am saddened that this vital subcommittee is being steered to return to a partisan process for this fiscal year 2025 House bill. We all witnessed how chaos and extremism played out last year, and we fully know a bipartisan compromise is the only avenue to finalize these bills. Americans expect us to negotiate out our differences and work together across the aisle and do our jobs to find the big middle. I stand ready to work again on a bipartisan basis to get our work done for the benefit of our nation. I would like to begin by thanking our diligent staff for all their hard work on this bill, particularly on the minority staff. I would like to thank Scott McKee, Jocelyn Hunn, and Adam Wilson, and on my personal staff, Maylie Boyce and Margaret McGinnis. Energy and water undergird America's way of life. They are not optional. They are essential to sustaining life. Fresh water is not optional. It is essential to life. Ask people along the Colorado River. Dependable, safe energy powers our economy, and it makes life possible across our vast continent. It undergirds our defense. Sadly, this Republican energy and water bill does not meet our nation's imperative for the future to become energy independent in perpetuity. This bill fails to meet our nation's obligation to assure dependable, affordable energy and water to millions of our citizens, and it fails to catch up to the future of living in a nation that is projected to grow to 400 million people by 2050, 3 times more people than when World War II ended in 1945, not so long ago. This energy and water bill cuts $1.5 billion, or 43%, nearly half, from the Department of Energy's energy efficiency and renewable energy programs, so essential to meeting our nation's new challenges and meet what the climate is demanding of us. It revokes $8 billion from the Department of Energy's loan programs. Let me be clear, these cuts will absolutely jeopardize innovation to achieve American energy independence. Cuts will hurt U.S. competitiveness, and cuts will increase energy costs for millions of our fellow citizens. While we have made great strides toward energy independence, after half a century of effort, we still haven't reached home plate and scored on U.S. energy independence in perpetuity. For example, the United States is fulfilling more of its crude oil energy needs with domestic supplies than ever before. Thankfully, U.S. net crude oil imports have consistently declined in 2021, 2022, 2023 under the Biden administration. Those have decreased, that's oil imports, 67% since 2016 and are the lowest they've been since, are you ready, 1972. While decreased reliance on imports should give the United States more control over prices, consumers are still not seeing those benefits in the price they pay at the pump. With an adversarial Russia weaponizing energy to destabilize global markets, it is clear America needs more energy innovation to reduce our dependence on any form of foreign energy supplies. Further, we must not cede our solar and chip future to China. We know China is more than willing to manufacture more than the world needs and dump product and components to wipe out domestic industries, which we have witnessed in steel, pharmaceuticals, electronics, and automotive sectors. Energy is on that chopping block. The Department of Energy's clean energy programs drive down energy costs to make it cheaper to expand domestic energy sources. If the United States does not lead on these new energy technologies, competitors like China will undercut us and monopolize those markets. That is their goal. America cannot acquiesce. Energy is critical. In this new century, marked by extreme weather events and an increasing occurrence of natural disasters, this bill endangers efforts to address the climate crisis. It is undeniable that we are witnessing growing weather events stemming from climate change occurring in real time before our very eyes in every region of our country and globally. Insurance premiums are rising significantly across our nation, and some insurers are cutting coverage, including on the coast, completely to customers. A new era has dawned. We must not fail to embrace change. During 2023, there were 28 separate billion-dollar weather and climate disaster events, including tornadoes, floods, tropical storms, wildfires, and drought. The total cost from these 28 events in 2023 alone was a record-setting $92.9 billion. You heard that right, $92.9 billion. That's with a B. In 2024, we're already witnessing an escalation of events with a heat dome that impacted over 250 million Americans. It even reached Washington, D.C. here. Major flooding throughout the Midwest and already wildfires burning in the West. We can either continue to pay more for disaster response, or we can invest now in climate mitigation and adaptation that will also lower costs for consumers, create new jobs, and increase our global competitiveness. The answer seems crystal clear to me. Thus, I oppose the Republican cuts to vital energy and climate programs at the Department of Energy. Shortchanging these programs pushes our nation backwards. Failing to modernize our nation's electric grids, failing to advance innovation relative to our global competitors in materials and manufacturing, and failing to build domestic end-to-end supply chains for jobs in the new energy economy. In other areas of the bill, I'm concerned how this bill cuts nuclear nonproliferation programs that reduce nuclear risks and counter the global challenge of nuclear proliferation. And finally, the bill includes numerous controversial poison pill policy riders that sadly show extremist Republicans are not interested in bills that can gain bipartisan support and become law, but rather there's more politics being played. So I urge my colleagues to oppose this bill. America can and must do better. America's future relies on the new age frontiers of energy and water. Each of us is so privileged to face this challenge, and the question is, will we do what is right for the country? We owe so much more than the petty wrangling to the generations of today, tomorrow, and yet to come. Let us work forward to embrace a bipartisan future rather than devolve into fractured indecision, which appears to be the trajectory for this vital legislation. Thank you, and I yield back.
At this time, I'd like to recognize the distinguished chairman of the full committee, my dear friend, Mr. Cole, for his remarks.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before I make my, prepared remarks, a couple of quick observations. Number one, this is the last subcommittee markup of this session. So I want to thank everybody here on both sides. I know it's been a brutal march to get to this point. I can't promise you a better July because we're going to get all these bills out of committee. But that could not have happened without the cooperation of my dear friend, the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Laurel, and frankly, every member on both sides of the aisle. And look, we all know there's a kind of a process here, and we don't start in the same place. My hope is, as the ranking member and I have been able to do in a variety of cases, we end up in the same place when we have a final negotiation. But I have no problem with people staking out their positions and making their concerns known, and that's been happening in abundance, as it should. The other thing I'll tell you, again, having finished now all the subcommittee markups when this one is done, we'll finish all the full committee markups. I regret we did not do that last year. We will do that this year, so the minority will certainly have every opportunity to make their case and lay out their positions in advance of what's going to be a longer negotiation, without any doubt, not only between ourselves, but between this institution, the Senate, and the administration. So, again, I thank all of you for your cooperation. That second observation off the top of my head, boy, this was a good year to be Chuck Fleischman. He's one of the only guys that got a higher 302B than anybody else, and he got the Defense Committee spot because we are so grateful to have him there because of the expertise he brings from this committee. I know my friend Ms. Capter also sits on the Defense Subcommittee, and the expertise both of them bring on our nuclear stockpile and how important it is to maintaining security of our country and frankly, a balance of power internationally. And I just want to thank both of you for the contributions you make on that committee as well. With that, again, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I want to thank the ranking member, Ms. Capter, and the ranking member of the full committee, Ms. DeLauro, and all the members of the subcommittee for being with us today. Today's measure funds the operations of the Department of Energy, along with parts of the Departments of Defense and Interior and other related agencies. The bill provides funding for two key areas that are of great importance to the American people. First, the bill fully funds the Army Corps of Engineers, which conducts civil water engineering projects. The Army Corps is responsible for projects ranging from harbors, rivers, wetlands, dams, and port facilities across the United States. They play a critical role in flood protection and mitigation operations, as well as maintaining navigable waters. Second, the bill funds our nuclear infrastructure, both on the defense side and the non-defense side. By providing critical investments in nuclear power research, we're helping to develop efficient energy sources for tomorrow. House Republicans will continue to promote an all-of-the-above energy approach that lowers prices for families and upholds Americans' security and position as a global leader. It's a strong measure that reinforces the defense, economy, and energy and navigation sectors of the United States. I want to thank Chairman Fleischman, Ranking Member Capter, and the majority and minority staff for their hard work. I look forward to consideration of this bill today. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I sincerely appreciate your kind words. At this time, I now recognize the distinguished ranking member of the committee, Ms. DeLauro, for her remarks.
Thank you very much, Chairman Fleischman. I've got to talk to you about we were in the last hearing, I know, with Congresswoman Pingree went to the chair and pleaded for more money, and she got it, and you got more money. I think I'm doing something wrong here, so we got to just figure this out.
She still didn't vote for the bill.
Right. Well, that's, for sure. But this is the last subcommittee, and I suppose we can quote the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, free at last, thank God Almighty. But we come back to a very, very hectic schedule. But I am as committed as the chair is in working so that we do get the bills through committee and get these bills across the floor with both bipartisan and bicameral support to get us where we need to go. So thank you. Again, Chairman Fleischman, our ranking member, Capter, for your great work and your passion, Capter, and to the subcommittee staff on both sides of the aisle. And a shout out especially to Scott McKee, Jocelyn Hunn, and Adam Wilson. We have a rare opportunity in this subcommittee to make strategic investments that lower energy costs for American families, that promote America's energy independence, and to support a robust and a modern manufacturing sector. This is a real chance to ensure America's resiliency in the face of a changing climate and shifting global economy. But that is not what the majority has chosen. Instead, the majority has cut domestic investments in this bill by over 5%. And with it, they are increasing energy costs, jeopardizing our energy independence and national security, hurting our global competitiveness, failing to confront the climate crisis, and putting tens of thousands of good-paying manufacturing jobs at risk. Even though some of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle may want to refuse the overwhelming evidence, deny the scientific consensus, and ignore the worsening natural disasters that have become more severe, more common in each of our districts, we must aggressively transform our energy sector to adapt to our climate reality. The best path, the only path that addresses climate change, reduces our dependence on fossil fuels, and ends reliance on foreign energy is to diversify how we produce and store energy here at home. But instead of ensuring America leads the world in the development and transition to a global clean energy economy, the majority bill strips $1.5 billion from the Department of Energy for energy efficiency and renewable energy. This funding supports research and development, manufacturing, energy management, weatherization technologies that are critical to our nation's growth and resilience. These cuts are robbing from our children and our grandchildren's economic, energy, and environmental future. It will leave them with a more dangerous world than the one we inherited. The bill directly targets disadvantaged communities by slashing funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program, which will drive up the cost of home energy bills for roughly 54,000 low-income homes. And we know today that the biggest issue for people is cost of living. People live paycheck to paycheck. They cannot afford housing costs. They can't afford childcare. They cannot afford their energy costs. And now what we will do is for seniors, we will drive up the cost of home energy bills for them. The attack on our country's energy future does not stop there. The majority bills hurts our global competitiveness and eliminates good-paying manufacturing jobs by revoking $8 billion from the Department of Energy's loan programs. These programs promote innovation and manufacturing in America, creating, reshoring jobs that will help America become truly energy independent and a leader in green energy. Without this funding, thousands of manufacturing jobs are at risk, and we will fall further behind our global competitors. I'm disheartened that the majority's energy and water bill has taken such a strong anti-sustainability stance. Sustainability is a straightforward demand that we responsibly steward the planet and its natural resources for future generations. This bill fails that demand. It fails to create a sustainable future, and it fails to ensure all consumers have equitable access to resilient, secure, and clean energy. At this final subcommittee markup of the year, I want to make sure that everyone knows what we have seen to date, that the House Republican majority has consistently failed to write bills that adhere to the promise of sticking to the caps with nothing more. However, despite opening the door to additional resources, House Republicans' proposals still fall woefully short. Their bills would still cut non-defense investments by more than $52 billion from where we were with the final bills in March, leaving more than $60 billion in investments in American families on the table. Let me be perfectly clear. House Republicans have acknowledged in their own bills that the statutory caps are insufficient. That is something I wholeheartedly agree with. So I say to my colleagues, what have I said time and time again? We know where we need to go. House Democrats are ready to work together, but we will accept nothing less than a 1% increase in defense and non-defense funding. That means a starting point of $786 billion in non-defense resources. To those who believe we need more on the defense side, like the esteemed chair of the Defense Subcommittee testified at Rules earlier this week, I will say again, Democrats will demand that every additional dollar for defense will be matched by $1 for critical non-defense investments in American families. Abandon a partisan path. Democrats are at the table, ready to pass legislation that lowers energy costs for the American people, that ensures America leads the transition to a global clean energy economy. I ask the majority to join us because it is time to govern. Thank you, and I yield back.
At this time, I would like to ask if any other members wish to make opening remarks. Having seen none, seeing no amendments, I now recognize Mr. Simpson, my dear friend from Idaho, for the purpose of making a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the bill be favorably reported to the full committee.
The question is on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. I ask unanimous consent that staff be permitted to make technical and conforming changes to the bill and report. Without objection, so ordered. Copies of the bill and report with the technical and conforming changes will be delivered to all full committee members' offices no later than 3 business days before full committee. Thank you very much, everyone, for a very productive hearing. That concludes today's markup. The committee now stands adjourned.
Good job, Chuck.